Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Grow Wealthy Grooming. I am your host, River Lee, and I'm really excited to see everybody. Thank you so much for your patience, guys. So, as you guys know about the Savvy Groomer, too many groomers own a job and not a business. At Savvy Groomer, we teach pet professionals how to make simple changes in their business so you can grow a business that is successful. At Savvy Groomer, we know you want to be the savvy pet professional with a business you can be proud of. In order to do that, you need to know how to manage your business so that you can own a business and not a job. The problem is you hear lots of advice that doesn't actually make a difference, and it makes you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, and like a failure. You've been putting in the effort, but don't have anything to show for it. We believe no one should have their dream fail. I understand. I learned a lot of my business knowledge for the hard way and from outside the grooming industry. I use my expertise working with clients internationally and have a proven track record. So let's go ahead and start talking about this week's topic, which is what to do when your groomers give 2 weeks notice. Now, I know some of you guys are not currently employers, or you may not even be business owners. That's okay. Let's just have a mini conversation about what to do when you have an employee and they've given you notice. Now, this is not you getting rid of your employee. This is not you firing your employee. This is just somebody who is leaving you. And this is not someone who stormed out. This is someone who's given you 2 weeks notice. And if you guys are employers, if you have employees, please go ahead and put in the chat box and let me know if you have employees and how many. That would be so helpful for me going through today. And I'm going to sit up higher because I'm short. And I'm feeling like, there we go, that's better. And if you guys can see this, I'm a big Doctor Who fan. And I have my TARDIS sweater on today. Alrighty. So let's begin talking about what happened that they are leaving you. You don't always know why employees leave you, but a lot of times we have more insight than we'd like to admit. First things first, I want to know, how did that person give their notice? So did this person write you a letter? So I was always taught that you write a letter, you hand it in writing. Ideally, you would send an email and a letter to give to your boss. That is what I was always taught. I don't know about you guys. So you do the email, ideally that we have a record of the date and time it was given. And then that also tells them the last shift you would be working. Some of you guys with your shifts, you may not have set schedule. So that makes it a little bit more complicated. And this matters because we're going to talk about what to do, and I'm going to set up the stage for that. So when this person put in their 2 weeks notice, is it a matter that was outside of your control? They may not tell you, they may leave it very vague, and it's up to you if you have a friendly enough relationship to ask more details, or maybe you just don't have that kind of personal connection with them. Are they moving? Are they deciding that they want to, whatever it is. Some people want to leave the grooming industry. Sometimes it's a matter of they're just not happy grooming, and that happens a lot. A lot of people get burnt out. And the reason I want to know if it's outside of my control, because sometimes there is something that is going to allow you to maybe rein them in a little bit more, and maybe you don't want them to put their 2 weeks in. Hi, Peter. Nice to meet you. So that's the first thing. Is it a matter outside of your control? And by that, there also might be something where, did you do something to make your employee give their 2 weeks notice? I know when I first had my grooming salon and I did not have any formal training on how to treat employees and how to build a team and how to create a culture in my business. I've learned so much more now. I've gone to so many seminars about specifically team building. But until I did that, I didn't know how to be a good boss and a good leader. And I really thought I was a great leader because people got things done, but that's not the same as being a good leader. So was it something you did? And you're probably not able to salvage this relationship with your employee, but in the future, you may want to learn what you did wrong or did less than ideally in order to stop that from happening in the future. Ask yourself, was it the salon culture? Again, we don't talk a lot about this in the grooming industry, but there is what's called a culture in a business. The way that employees hang out with each other and interact with each other, it makes a big difference. A lot of groomers are catty, ha ha ha, bitchy, hee hee hee. You know how I love my puns, like dad jokes galore. A lot of times grooming salons are known for their drama. What kind of culture is your business? And you might say everyone gets along. Well, does everyone get along because they've all been working there for 13 years? Or is it that, everyone pretends to get along and maybe everybody is friends? A lot of us hire our family members or our friends. Is that why that group of people in your business get along really well? And then this one person who is the outsider is not a part of that clique. I'm not a big reality TV fan, but a friend of mine was watching Vanderpump Rules, which is about a restaurant, and they just literally just constantly peck at each other like hens, and they're mean to each other, and one girl will gang up on like all the other girls, and then there's like always this drama. And a lot of grooming salons are like that. So you might want to look at what your salon culture is. And what's interesting in that show is the business owner says she has no patience for it, but she gets in the thick of it and she gets in the middle of it. And, you might think that you're helping, like I'm sure she thinks she's helping, but she's actually, making that drama okay by allowing them to continue it. Turquoise Laura, I have so many dad jokes. I'm pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. So again, with your salon culture, is it something that maybe you need to work on? Did your salon have unrealistic expectations? Did you expect someone to groom 4 giant doodles a day? Whatever it is. Some people, I know with my grooming salon, I had the feeling of what I could do, anyone should be able to do. And that's not always the case. Everyone has different strengths. Everyone has different ideas of what a day is. I was talking to a good client of mine, and her average grooming day is 10 pets. And I feel really comfortable doing 5 in a salon. 5 or 6 is my max in a salon. I really don't want to do more than 5 or 6 pets a day. And some people are like, oh my God, I could never hire someone who could only do 5 or 6 a day. I just don't. I've been grooming over 10 years. I don't have the stamina for it anymore. Being in your 30s as a groomer is like being a 50s doing anything else. It beats your body down. So, I want you to think about, do you have realistic expectations? Did you hire somebody in their 40s or 50s who maybe can't groom 8 dogs a day? The same as like your 20-year-old baby groomer can. Yeah, your baby groomer's pumping them out, but she won't be able to do that in 10, 15 years. And some people, no matter what you do, are just magic. I've had people that just literally, they just groom, fast, and they're just perfect grooms, and they're super fast, and they're just unicorns. Some people are just like that. So make sure you have realistic expectations again, because if you burnt this groomer out, you need to go back and look at what is realistic and your pay scale and all of that, because you need to make sure that if you hire somebody else to replace this person, then you want to make sure that you're not going to just set yourself up for this to happen over and over and over again. I love when people talk about how they can't keep a groomer, and I'm like, so then what's up with your salon? Because there are lots of shops that are awful to their employees, yet they stay there. What is it about your business practices or your salon that people can't stand it enough that they leave? One reason might be low wages. I'm not saying that groomers should be paid millions of dollars. I think that there has to be a healthy balance between making the business a profit and making sure someone can be comfortable. And a lot of times that is I am not a big fan of straight commission, because I find that groomers focus on 30, 40, 50% commission, 60% commission, instead of how much they're actually making. I'm a big fan of either a flat hourly with a bonus, or I don't want to say a salary, but a guaranteed salary with bonuses and commissions. I like that better. I find that people are much happier, because at the end of the day, they know how much they're at least going to get. And it's good for you when it's really busy, and then it's really good for them when you're really slow. So you've got to find that healthy balance. And you may think you found that healthy balance, and you're not allowing someone to make realistic wages. So here, we were talking a little bit about this in our budget video. And if you guys haven't seen that, I will put it up below after this video. But in that, so we talked about how much your area is. So where I'm living, where I live in Rhode Island, you would have like an office job at like $17 an hour, $15 to $17 an hour. However, in Boston, which is an hour-and-a-half train ride away, it's an hour and change car ride away. An office job would be making between $20 and $25 an hour. So a groomer may go to Boston and make more money versus coming here. But obviously that's more of a pain in the butt to go up there. But what is a good wage here is not necessarily a good wage there. A good wage in New York City is probably way too much. It would be almost impossible to be, financially stable in somewhere like Omaha, Nebraska. It just depends on where you are. So you need to make sure that the person that you're hiring can afford to live on the wages you are trying to give them. Another thing might be they're creating an environment where employees simply don't respect you, or they don't realize what they have. When you spoil your employees, and I'm not talking about treating employees well. Treating employees well and spoiling them are two different things. For any of us who have dogs or children, not cats. Cats are totally different, but dogs or children, they're spoiled if you spoil them. So it's up to you to find that healthy balance between treating them well, but them to still have gratitude or appreciate what they have. And some people, no matter what you do, are never going to be appreciative. They weren't raised to be appreciative. They're kind of miserable human beings. But you would notice that hopefully within the first 30 days of hiring them. But some people just eventually slowly take advantage of their boss and they don't realize what they have. On the flip side, if you've created an instance where your employees think that you're unprofessional or you're not actually the kind of person that is a boss, like a lot of times we want to be I always tell my clients this, you want to be friendly, not friends. You are not friends with your employees. You can't be, because you might have to one day fire them and know they're not going to be able to pay their bills. It is almost impossible to be able to fire somebody you're friends with. And a lot of us say, no, I would totally be fine with that. I think that you are either one of two things. Either you're a little bit of a sociopath who wouldn't care if your friend ended up homeless and losing everything because you fired them and they couldn't find a job because you're not gonna give them a reference. And if you do give them a reference, it's gonna be a neutral or negative reference. You have to be a sociopath to be like, oh no, if my friend, doesn't work out, I'm gonna fire her. So you're really okay with potentially, some of us, depending upon where we are, if they lost their job, they have no money. They might have a way to feed their family. They might have a way to pay their rent or their mortgage. They might lose their car. So you think you can do it, but when it really comes down to, if your friend is crying hysterically, I'm going to lose everything, I have no money saved. And you're like, nope. Because it's easier when you're friendly. We've created that healthy barrier because nobody wants to be that bad person that fires somebody. But ultimately, you have to do what's best for the business. And if you are friends with someone versus just friendly and having boundaries, you're going to do what's right for the business instead of worrying about the repercussions of their personal life. Little aside, I apologize, but that's a very important point. Another thing that might be is your employees are fighting with each other. And again, we talked a little bit about this before, but again, like with that TV show, it's a perfect example. One of the girls, and again, I don't want to go too much into reality TV, but it's fascinating to me that, a friend of mine was watching this, so we were watching it. And one of the girls named Stassi, and Stassi literally said, I will make her quit. And there are businesses like this, and you may not know. Now, what's interesting is in this instance, Stassi told Lisa, the owner, that she was going to make this other girl quit. And that girl didn't actually do anything to her. She didn't deserve to be forced out like that. But there are going to be, if you are not the boss and you do not put your foot down and say this is unacceptable, people are going to become hens and they're going to peck each other. And that's going to affect your business. In that instance, this person didn't want to work with this person. And during work, they're sitting there fighting and they're disagreeing, and instead of focusing on their job and their customers. And it would be no different than us. You really need to take the reins in your business. And so why do these things matter when someone gives your 2 weeks notice? Because if they quit, if they're putting in their 2 weeks notice and they're quitting because it's something out of their control, that's a good thing. That means that they would have stayed here, but something that happened and they're not able to stay. Now, if it's something you did, that's important, because now, are they vindictive? Are they mad at you? Are they going to take it out on you in your business? Are they going to talk bad about you? If it's the salon culture, and I'm going to add that in with the employees fighting with each other, are they going to bicker and blow up now because that person feels like I put my 2 weeks in and F everybody else and I'm going to do what I want and I'm going to pick fights and I don't care because what's she going to do? Fire me? Or if it's the salon culture is the problem, are they going to make everyone else miserable for those 2 weeks? If you have unrealistic expectations, are they now going to, let's say with the, let's say I'm a groomer and they said, why are you trying to quit? And say, honestly, I really don't want to groom more than 5 or 6 dogs a day. And you keep scheduling me 8. Well, now for those 2 weeks, am I going to refuse to groom 8 dogs? Am I going to say, yeah, I'm not doing 2 doodles today, so give somebody else it, or, I'll walk out. Am I going to use that as a weapon with the 2 weeks notice? If it's low wages, am I going to sit there and create a stir with the employees when the other employees go, oh, we're so sorry to hear you're leaving. Why are you leaving? Well, this bitch don't pay me enough and I need to leave and I can't live on this money and this is crumb money and I'm going to go here and I'm going to make all this money and blah, 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 blah. Or I'm going to open up my own shop and I'm going to make all this money because I have no idea how business works. Whatever. Are they going to stir up your other employees? Or even you, if it's just you and this other person, are they going to make those 2 weeks a living hell? And if they don't respect you, again, you're going to spend 2 weeks either saying how much you need them and they're going to, you're going to miss them, which is nuts, or it's going to be, just 2 weeks of them disrespecting you. So it matters because what is going to happen? And again, there are so many different variations of what's going to happen. Some people will use 2 weeks notice as a weapon against you to see what you will offer them. And I don't think it's a bad tactic. I don't think it's a bad tactic if you've been unreasonable in your expectations. If you interviewed somebody and you asked them, how many dogs do you normally do in a day? And they said 5 to 6, and you have given them 8 to 10, and they've asked you to stop, and that's your opportunity to say to them, listen, I know you were really clear you could only do 5 to 10, and I'm making you do 5 to 6, and I'm asking you to do 8 to 10. Is this really the only reason you're leaving? And if it is, maybe you need to look at what you're doing. But let's say you've decided, nope, I'm going to let them fly. Free bird, free, go. Okay. What are you going to do about it? Well, it depends on a few things. Let's start with how your shop is set up. And what I teach my clients is do not let your groomers talk to customers. They can say hi. They can be friendly. But people come to my shop when I had my shop for my shop. I don't want them to be attached to my groomers. And the reason why is because when they leave, I don't want them to leave with my customers. I paid the money to market. I paid the money to have a grooming salon near a main road. I did things with my salon in order to get those customers. And then I paid you, the groomer, to work. You're not taking the customers I paid to get with you. That's not how that works. And when you're an employee or when you work for a business, a lot of people don't realize how much money it costs to gain clients. Sometimes it's as simple as a marketing campaign. Nowadays, things are so different. Back then, we're talking, I don't even know, 2011, so 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, I spent a lot of money doing, paper marketing, which didn't work. So let's say I spent $1,000 on paper marketing. Back then, now this is very different now, but back then I did a Groupon, which was very successful. It was very successful. It's so different now, but back then it was very successful. But the way it worked is for let's call it $50 dog groom, they paid half. So they paid $25, which meant that I got only half of that. So I got $12.50 out of a $50 groom. So I had to pay my groomer to groom the dog. And out of all of those clients, I think we had a crazy amount. I don't even want to lie and tell you how many. It was several hundred. Out of those clients, I had to pay my groomer, because at the time they were 50% commission. This is why you don't do this. Because if I had done hourly, it would have been a lot better for my business. But I had to lose that money to gain that customer. I lost a lot of money. I lost like $25 a dog. You figure you're doing 5 dogs a day. We're losing $100 in something worth of revenue every day just from marketing. And then a lot of those customers will never come back. So I paid a lot of money to go ahead and build this business. I paid for a business that was right on a main road. I'm doing all these things as a business owner, and employees don't understand. So technically, legally, client list is an asset of the business. So ideally, you never have groomers check in and out dogs. They should not have access to the client records. They should not have access to phone numbers, any kind of contact information. None of that. In a perfect world, I should either have my manager do that, myself, or have a receptionist. And to me, that's really important, because now if they give me 2 weeks notice, I can then say, that's fine. You can come in, you can do the dogs on your schedule. And then after 2 weeks, that gives me 2 weeks time to call the clients that were normally on their schedule and put them either on my schedule. And again, remember, this is where, guys, remember how I said that having a grooming salon manager is important that does not groom? So it's really easy for that grooming salon manager, or you who's not grooming and you're just managing, to take on those dogs for the 2 weeks notice, and then while you're hiring somebody else. So that's where I'm saying the ideal scenario is that. Now, you want to make sure that they're not having relationships with the customers. And I don't mean romantic relationships, although it's basically when they have like their dog and they only want Tiffany to the dog and well, okay. And then you have to decide if you're going to send that customer after them. But I digress. So if you are the kind of shop where they have access to customers, you probably have to fire them and not let them work the last 2 weeks, which really sucks, because they were polite enough to give you 2 weeks notice, and they were polite enough to allow you to continue to earn money while they're working there, while you find someone to replace them. But first of all, you have no idea if they have already downloaded or written down or copied cards. I mean, if they have groom cards with that customer's phone number, they could have been writing down all of those phone numbers for weeks. You've no idea. You have no idea if they have downloaded like every customer they've done the last year and put it down. I know a local grooming salon, and this is not exactly a 2 weeks notice, but very similar, they were moving the grooming salon, and she was building out a doggy daycare, boarding, grooming facility. And it was really sad. So she was not a groomer, and she let her employees know, and her employees, which were all groomers, downloaded all of her customer base, their email addresses, their addresses, everything. And they sent out postcards saying that they were going to be opening under a new name. They did not mention the other salon where the other people were moving. But so this entire customer base was told that, oh no, we're going to be changing the name, but everybody will still be here. So customers thought they were closing. They didn't realize they were opening up another salon. And so, long story short, this owner who was not a groomer, her entire staff mutinies, And when she went to go move, she was not able to move because she had less than 10% of her business clientele, because obviously all those clients were like, well, we like the spot, we like these groomers, and we have a relationship with the groomers. We don't have a relationship with you, the owner. We have a relationship with these groomers. And so they stayed. And so she ended up losing her entire business, and had to break the lease on the business that she was building out. And that was really awful and really sad, but it happens. And as a business owner, you have to protect yourself. And part of you can say, well, those employees, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's not, you can't steal. I think that there are ways of going around it where you can, as an employee, you can go around it in a way that is respectful. But as an employee, you don't own those customers. Those are your grooming salon owners, customers. So anyway, I digress again. So with this, if you have a business where your groomer is checking in and out dogs, you either need to be there to check in and out those dogs and not let them have a relationship for those 2 weeks, because they're definitely going to tell them where they're going. I mean, we've all worked at grooming salons. We know that's what they do. You know, when I worked at Petco, there was a girl that was quitting to move to Pet Supplies Plus, which was another corporate grooming salon. And she told every single one of her clients. She called every single one of her clients and told them where she was going. And that store lost several hundred clients. And, you know, if that's one thing, if it's corporate can suck it up. We can't afford it. You know, and a lot of those clients were probably originally your clients that you used to do. And then as time went on, you know, you let somebody else do it, you know, because you can't take all the clients. And that's tough. But, you know, if someone gives you 2 weeks notice and they're checking in and out their dogs, you need to stop their access to the computer. You need to stop their access to client cards and not let them have access to clients. You need them to be able to leave gracefully, but no, they can't steal your clients. And I know that sounds kind of petty and this and that. And again, this also depends upon why they're leaving. Because let's say if it's outside their control, they're moving to Texas. Then I would, if they've had a relationship this entire time, I would probably let them tell someone they're moving to Texas. You know, that they'd be like, that's one thing. But again, if they're going to badmouth the business owner, no, I'm not letting that happen. If it's something, again, with the business culture where you have a lot of pettiness, why are you, oh, you know, Sarah, why are you leaving? Well, let me spill the tea, right? We don't want them to sit there and badmouth our businesses. You know, whether that's unrealistic expectations. Well, you know, River wants me to be grooming, you know, 8 to 10 dogs a day, and I just can't do more than 5 or 6. I don't want them telling clients that. Even if it is my fault, that's between us. But let's be honest, most groomers, if they were professional and they were talented and all these things, they'd probably own their own business. 9 times out of 10 right now in the industry, and that's going to change because that is one of my crusades, is that good groomers should be employees and enjoy being an employee. But right now, if you are a half decent groomer, you have a good head on your shoulders and you're not crazy, like you're crazy, but you're like groomer crazy, like good crazy, then you probably own your own shop or your own mobile. You know, that's why we're always desperately looking for more groomers, because the good ones generally own their own business. And the ones that are employees, they either work for great people, you know, or they own their own shop. You know, there's a lot of great groomers that have great bosses, and we want to be the best boss we can, but we also have to protect ourselves. So, and again, you know, if you have something going on in your shop this person put their 2 weeks in, it's time to look at what you're doing and how that affects your employee. The flip side is, let's say you have a shop with the kind of scenario that I prefer to see grooming salons in. Let's say you have a staff, like I said, that you have a receptionist or a manager who's up front, and the employees, you know, go in the back and they groom, and their job is to groom. It's not to socialize. So that, you know, that groomer, I would let do their 2 weeks, again, depending upon why they're leaving. So if I have a groomer who is going to, like I said, pick fights, start a little mutiny, whatever it is, I'm going to make them leave. And that does get tricky because then instead of quitting, it's technically a fire and you have to find out your state laws. If you would then have to pay unemployment or not. Some states, if they put their 2 weeks in and you tell them not to worry about coming in, then you're fine. Some of them would consider that a fire, so they can then file for unemployment. So that is something you have to always ask. And depending upon what state you're in, some people you can ask, you should ask an attorney always. But some states you can ask your EA, your CPA, or your payroll company. Most of them will have an idea, but if you want to double check, you can also call lots of resources like your labor board. You can call lots of different places. It does take a little bit of knowledge, but you should have ideally, with your payroll company, you should have something. And this is also why we do not have illegal independent contractors, because if they're an illegal independent contractor, then they're going to file for unemployment and you're going to be like, no, they're an independent contractor, not an employee. And they're going to audit you and then they're going to fine you into oblivion and you lose everything. I've seen people who have $10,000 worth of fines because they had an independent contractor who filed unemployment, and they file for unemployment and they go, no, they weren't an employee. So now they have to pay for unemployment insurance on that client, employee, and now they owe them back taxes and they're getting audited, and good luck. It's a great way to destroy your business. Anyway, I digress, guys. So, I want to open up the floor to any questions if anyone has any questions. The main thing is when someone offers you their 2 weeks is to reflect on why they're leaving you. Is it your fault? Is it something under your control? Or is it them? Is it something that in the future you can stop or fix or grow on yourself? Is it something that needs to shift in your business? Did you hire the wrong person? Did you hire somebody that is more focused on, very, very high quality grooms? And you guys are I always say it's kind of like hiring a barista that wants to make those leaf lattes. And you're a Dunkin' Donuts. Like, it doesn't matter. If you're a Dunkin' Donuts and they're so focused on the artistry and they're less focused on producing, then they're in the wrong shop. And there's going to be a shop that needs them, because for every groomer, there is a shop. If you are a really crappy groomer, there is a chop shop out there for you. I'm a really mediocre dog groomer. I can do a decent haircut. But will I ever do competition grooming? Hell no. And I have no interest in it. My customer service skills made me a Starbucks. But my quality of grooms were definitely Dunkin' Donuts. And that's what branding is for. But could I have worked at a shop where everyone did hand scissor dogs? No, never. I'd be so miserable. And the same thing as somebody who really excels with these stylized cuts, going to a shop that every dog's getting a 5. They'd be really unhappy too. So I don't want to go too far down into that rabbit hole, but I just want to remind you guys that this is something that is complicated, but as you can see, we go through the steps and we figure out what it is and why it is that we would do something about when someone gives us 2 weeks notice. I really try my best to let people work out their 2 weeks. I think if they give me enough respect to give me 2 weeks notice, and I know they're not going to create chaos in my salon, and they're not, whether that's with other employees or whether that is with customers, then I think it's the nicest thing you could do is let them work those 2 weeks. However, I would be prepared that if they don't show up, if they cut out early, whatever it is, if they leave and I'm stuck with that schedule of dogs, that's where we had talked about managers and salon owners not managing and doing all of those things as well as having a full day of dogs. Because if that customer, if that employee decides to pull something, I need to be able to say, you know, thank you so much for giving me your 2 weeks notice, but I think you're ready to go. And then let them go. There's no point in keeping someone there for 2 weeks to make everyone else miserable. And we all have had that employee that is just miserable and it makes everybody else miserable. So don't fall into that trap. That's where we want to build our business in a way that it can function as a business. And I think a lot of times we cut off our nose to spite our face. Nom, 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 nom. All right, guys. Well, I want to really thank you so much for being here with me today and talking about this topic. I know that it's really kind of a weird topic, what to do when your groomers give you 2 weeks notice. And I hope that by breaking down the different reasons why they quit into how you would decide what to do with them. So I want to thank you guys again. I want to remind you guys to consider joining our membership, which is the Grow Wealthy Grooming membership. It is one low monthly fee, and you get to join to become a foundation member. Right now, we have the foundation member pricing, which is only $10 a month. You can go to www.savvygroomer.com/grow-wealthy-grooming. So I want you guys to consider joining that. Every month, we do one different business item, and this month we are doing organizing our business, which is, talking about organizing our office space, whether to do an LLC or sole proprietorship. And it's really nice and really interesting. And a lot of us need to reorganize and get our minds back around our business. So I want to invite you guys to do that. And I really would love to see you guys in there. It is going to keep going up monthly. So I would start now while it's really low and become part of the group. Turquoise Laura says, thank you for this. I find it very interesting and helpful, definitely. I'm so glad that you were here with us live, enjoying this. It is something that we need to discuss as an industry, all about the different things and how to maintain our clients and our culture and why those pieces all fit together. So again, guys, I'm River Lee, your host of the Savvy Groomer and Grow Wealthy Grooming. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next weekend. It has been a crazy week, obviously. You can tell this is live, though, right? Oh, boy. Anyways, guys, happy grooming. Whoop. See? Not perfect. Boop. There we go. That's better.